For centuries, the ruins of Troy have served as the ultimate cultural shorthand for ancient heroism. Our modern expectations of this era are built on mythic ideals, epic grandeur, noble sacrifice, and a romance that justifies a decade of war. William Shakespeare used these same legends as his foundation, but he chose to strip away the glory usually afforded to these characters. He presents a battlefield defined by ego, political maneuvering, and a pervasive sense of moral decay. This approach is why scholars categorize Troilus and Cressida as a problem play. It rejects the clear-cut resolutions of traditional tragedy or comedy. Understanding this satire requires us to look past the bronze armor and examine the psychological chaos that Shakespeare places at the center of the conflict. In the Trojan camp, Troilus and Cressida both find themselves caught in a genuine, desperate passion for one another. Cressida's uncle, Pandarus, acts as a manipulative go-between, orchestrating their secret meetings until the two finally pledge their eternal loyalty. This commitment is almost immediately tested when Cressida's father, who has defected to the Greeks, successfully trades a prisoner to bring his daughter to the enemy camp. The arc reaches its climax when Troilus secretly watches as Cressida quickly adapts to her new surroundings by actively responding to the advances of a Greek warrior named Diomedes. This raises the play's central question: is Cressida a faithless lover, or simply a woman forced to use adaptation as a survival strategy in a hostile environment? Shakespeare uses their separation to show that war creates an environment where trust is a luxury few can afford, making even the most solemn promises negotiable. While the lovers are torn apart, the Greek leadership reveals a different kind of failure. Their camp is definitely not a hub of brilliant strategy, but rather a weary, stagnant army led by endlessly frustrated commanders. Achilles, their most celebrated warrior, refuses to fight. He spends his days in his tent mocking his own superiors, proving that his pride is greater than his sense of duty. Back in Troy, Hector attempts to inject morality into the war, arguing that returning Helen to the Greeks is the only honorable way to end the bloodshed. Troilus overrules him, insisting that the city's reputation is at stake. He argues surrendering Helen would be an admission of weakness, ensuring the cycle of violence continues. The myth of the noble warrior finally breaks when Achilles ambushes an unarmed Hector. Rather than a fair, honorable duel, the proud Achilles simply waits for a moment of vulnerability and mercilessly slaughters him. This act removes the pretense of military honor from the story. It frames the war not as a grand quest, but as a vehicle for personal revenge and petty cruelty. The play concludes without a sense of victory. Hector is dead, Troilus is broken, and Troy is left on the verge of total collapse. This lack of catharsis defines the problem play. Shakespeare denies the audience the satisfaction of a heroic ending, leaving the conflict feeling unresolved and hollow. Characters like Ulysses argue that society itself begins to fracture when personal ego overrides social order and hierarchy. Shakespeare utilized the legendary Trojan backdrop as a framework to dissect timeless human weaknesses. The play's focus on bureaucratic deadlock and the commodification of individuals, like the trade of Cressida, reflects the same cold mechanics found in modern power politics. Troilus and Cressida remains relevant because it challenges the motives behind our conflicts. It suggests that the same instability found in these ancient ruins is a persistent feature of our own social and political structures.